You're welcome, stargazers. Do you believe it? Imagine a celestial event so big that it leaves shadows on Earth that can be seen during the day. That's what we might be about to see in the Orion constellation. The star Betelgeuse is acting strangely, which could mean that a supernova explosion is about to happen, which will light up the sky like never before. When will Betelgeuse go supernova, though? And what do scientists think it will look like? What truths could be revealed by this amazing event? Come with us as we get into the specifics of what's going on with Betelgeuse and how it could affect Earth and maybe even the whole solar system. Betelgeuse is a star that is not like any other. It is about 650 light-years from Earth and is in the constellation Orion. This star is a red supergiant, and it shines brighter than 100,000 times the sun. It is one of the brightest stars we know of. But why do we care so much about this red giant? Well, Betelgeuse stands out not only because it is bright, but also because of its past and importance to people. Ancient people have seen and written about Betelgeuse for hundreds of years. Its name comes from the Arabic phrase Yad al-Waya, which means the hand of Orion. People have used it as a landmark and been amazed by the stars because of its reddish color, which makes it stand out from other stars in the Orion constellation. Imagine a single star being so big that it dwarfs the whole solar system. If Betelgeuse were to replace our Sun, its sides would reach all the way to Jupiter. This gives you an idea of how big it is. How is it possible for a single star to get so big? It's only 10 million years old, which is a lot younger than our Sun, which is 5 billion years old. However, Betelgeuse's huge size means it uses up its materials much more quickly, which means it will not last as long as other stars. It is getting close to the end of its life cycle. This celestial giant has a volume big enough to hold more than 1 billion suns. And when such big stars hit their twilight years, they don't just fade away. They make a big noise. An explosion so powerful and bright that it's hard for humans to understand. This kind of event could be brighter than a whole galaxy, sending shadows of its brightness over very long distances in space. It was 1604 when Earth last saw a supernova explosion this close. The Kepler supernova was the last supernova that could be seen with the human eye in our Milky Way galaxy. It happened a long time before modern telescopes were made. It was brighter than any other star in the sky and could be seen for more than 18 months. For a few weeks, it could even be seen during the day. What secrets do these pieces of stars show us? Astronomers from many cultures, including China and Europe, wrote down in ancient accounts that this new star appeared. Surprisingly, we can still see the effects of this explosion today with very powerful telescopes. They look like a spreading cloud of debris, and they tell us about the violent ends of very large stars. In the past, supernovae have not happened very often. But imagine a star exploding so brightly that it would be as bright as a full moon and make shadows on Earth at night and be visible during the day. The radiation from such an event would charge the atmosphere, which could have an effect on how satellites work and maybe even on the temperature. The way Betelgeuse's lights change all the time makes it look like it might be getting ready for a big show like this. Could we be about to see one of the most exciting things in the history of the universe? Scientists studying space have found something shocking. Betelgeuse changed in a way that amazed scientists and fans all over the world from October 2019 to early 2023. The star's brightness, which had been stable for hundreds of years, started to drop greatly during what is known as the Great Dimming. Stargazers who were just looking at the stars for fun could see this quick change when they put Betelgeuse next to other stars in the constellation Orion. This means that we might not be hundreds of years away from seeing its supernova explosion, but maybe only a few decades, or even less. Astronomical observations made in April 2023 showed that Betelgeuse's brightness had returned to normal, which led many people to think that the strange time was over. In a shocking turn of events, Betelgeuse's brightness increased by an amazing 50% over the next few months. Even though these big changes are common in variable stars, they were not common in a star like Betelgeuse, whose brightness cycles had been mostly predicted. The sudden and intense rise in its brightness put the star back in the news and made people talk about what will happen to it next. But what caused this sudden change and how bright it was? Why did Betelgeuse, one of the most well-known stars in the sky, throw a surprise into the night sky? Stars are more than just blinking dots in the sky at night. They are living things with their own cycles, activities, and mysteries. For many celestial bodies, changes in light can be planned for, similar to how the seasons change on Earth. Betelgeuse has had a pretty steady 400-day brightness cycle over the course of its stellar lifetime. But during the Great Dimming, it seemed to go against what it normally did, making it harder for us to understand what was going on in the sky. Now you might be wondering, are we about to have a great revelation? The exact reasons for Betelgeuse's strange behavior are still being looked into, but a strong idea has emerged. This idea, which is based on stellar activity and mass ejection, makes for an interesting situation. Think of Betelgeuse as a huge volcano in space that is exploding and sending a huge amount of its matter into space. Previous measurements from the Hubble Space Telescope showed that Betelgeuse had thrown off a huge amount of its surface matter into space. This huge event, the discharge, was 400 billion times the mass that is usually released during similar solar events. That's a few times the mass of our moon. These kinds of events can cause a dense cloud of dust to build around the star, which can change how bright it seems and make it harder to see for a short time. The veil then came off as the dust started to spread out or was pushed away by the star's radiation press. This might help explain why it went back to normal light levels afterward. In any case, these recent events point to a star who is still able to surprise us. A lot of people think that Betelgeuse might be nearing the end of its life, which is called a supernova event. A supernova is a huge explosion of energy that can briefly light up a whole galaxy. When there is a quick change in the star's core, this happens. These kinds of changes can happen when a star takes in too much matter from a nearby star, or in the case of Betelgeuse, when its nuclear fuel runs out, sending its mass into the core and setting the stage for a huge explosion. But why does a huge star like Betelgeuse end up dying? Stars like Betelgeuse get started by burning hydrogen in their cores. They are made when gas in molecular clouds falls apart due to gravity. This first stage, called the main sequence stage, lasts for millions of years and is the most important part of a star's life. But when stars run out of hydrogen, they change and adapt to find new energy sources. In the case of Betelgeuse, when the hydrogen runs out, it starts to burn helium, which makes carbon and oxygen. The star's growth into a red giant marks the change from the main sequence phase to the helium-burning phase. Over time, as the star's helium stores run out, it expands even more and goes through different burning phases, each one marked by the fusion of heavier elements. Because of the huge gravity pulls at play, these changes happen faster as the star gets bigger. Then the big moment comes. Iron starts to form at the center. Since iron doesn't give off energy when fused like lighter elements do, the energy it creates isn't enough to fight the star's heavy gravity. The star gets bigger and explodes in a supernova. This is followed by a huge return effect that makes the explosion. If that's the case, is Betelgeuse about to blow up, or is it just waiting? A new study from Japan's Tohoku University says that the star may be burning carbon right now. They think that the core might fall apart a few decades after its carbon stores run out, with Haddock as the leader. But not every scientist agrees. According to different studies from Hungary's Konl Observatory, Betelgeuse may still be in the early stages of burning helium. Even with all of these disagreements, experts agree on one thing. Betelgeuse will be the next supernova in the Milky Way. Still, figuring out when this event will happen is still a cosmic guessing game, with bets running from a few decades to a million years. Even though scientists disagree and make guesses about what happened to Betelgeuse, one thing is certain: the way we see things. There is a subtle truth that we often miss when we look up at the vast sky full of stars. This paradox comes from the way time and light work in our very large universe. The light from stars and other celestial things is so far away that it takes a very long time to reach our eyes. To give you an example, the speed of light is 186,282 miles per second, but it can only go so fast. This means that light from faraway galaxies and stars takes a very long time to travel through space and reach Earth. When you look at Betelgeuse, you're really seeing something that happened 650 years ago. To give you an idea of how big that deal is, this light started its trip toward Earth at the same time that the Renaissance was just beginning and explorers like Marco Polo were making history. Everything we notice about Betelgeuse is like looking through a spaceship's time capsule, giving us information about in the distant past. Just for fun, let's say Betelgeuse had already burst in a beautiful supernova. we would not know about it for another 650 years. So, while we talk about and guess when its supernova will happen, this huge event may already have happened somewhere in the vast universe. We're just waiting for it to travel through time and space and get to our excited telescopes. People who study the universe are very excited about the new information about Betelgeuse. They are comparing it to another amazing find from earlier this year called SN 2023X. Many people were reminded of how interesting and random the universe is by a supernova that was recently seen in a galaxy close to the Milky Way. SN 2023X was one of a kind. It was many million light-years away and showed off an intense display of brightness that briefly made its home galaxy look less bright. But what experts and regular people found most interesting about it was how much it looked like what many people think will happen to Betelgeuse. The explosion spectrum, intensity, and aftermath gave us an intriguing look into the changes that these very large stars go through as their lives come to an end. Many people saw SN 2023X as a sneak peek at what might happen when Betelgeuse goes off. The events may follow a similar pattern to what was seen with SN 2023X. The link between these two celestial events also emphasizes a larger theme about how everything in the universe is linked. Whether it's a nearby star like Betelgeuse or a supernova far away like SN 2023X, these celestial events show us how space is always changing and growing. Aside from the obvious and scientific effects, the blast would have huge cultural impacts. The sky would change after being looked at and respected for thousands of years. This change would make people think about how things change, how big cosmic time is, and where we fit in the world. These cosmic wonders remind us of how short life is and how we will always be trying to understand the great beyond. As we learn more about the possible explosion of Betelgeuse, it's helpful to think about what such a cosmic event might mean for the rest of the universe. It's not just interesting to study astronomy when a big star like Betelgeuse dies. It's a reminder that the world works in cycles. There are births, lives, and deaths of stars. When they explode, they often release new elements into the universe that can be used to make more stars, planets, and even life. This process of stars changing over time is an important part of the cosmic cycle, and Betelgeuse's death could have big effects on the space between the stars nearby. When a star like Betelgeuse goes supernova, it sends a huge amount of energy and heavy elements into space. Elements like carbon, oxygen, and iron are spread out all over the galaxy and are necessary for life as we know it. The explosion sends out shock waves that can cause new stars to form in the gas clouds around it. This makes the environment richer with the materials needed to make planets. In order to make the stuff that new stars and planets will need, the universe is constantly renewing itself in ways like this chain reaction. What would this particular explosion mean for Earth, though? Because it would be 650 light-years away, the explosion of Betelgeuse would not directly harm life on Earth, even though it would be very bright. A nearby supernova can send out radiation that is strong enough to damage or even kill the ozone layer. This means that the Earth's surface is exposed to more ultraviolet radiation. This could hurt environments, change the weather, and even put people in danger. Betelgeuse is far away, though, so it's not likely that the explosion would do this much damage. Even though the supernova's light could be blinding, it wouldn't change the living things on Earth in a way that would last. Even so, the event would be a breathtaking show that would remind us of the huge forces at work in the world. The ultimate explosion of Betelgeuse also gives astronomers a once-in-a-lifetime chance to study how stars die in real time. Supernovae are very rare, but when they do happen, they give us a unique look into the last moments of a star's life. Watching Betelgeuse explode would give scientists a lot of useful information about how stars die, how heavy elements form, and how supernova remnants behave. This information would also help us learn more about how galaxies change over time and how the things that life needs are spread out in the universe. The study of Betelgeuse's dimming and the changes in its brightness that followed could also help us understand how red supergiants work on the inside and what happens before they explode. Scientists will probably learn more about the star's behavior as they keep an eye on it. This could help them figure out what other stars are doing at similar points in their lives. Betelgeuse is one of the most well-known stars to go through such big changes, but she's not the only one. There are many huge stars in the world that are about to go supernova. Each one will go through a different process. Astronomers and people who look at the stars will both agree that when Betelgeuse finally blows up, it will be the end of an age. People have been interested in this star's death for hundreds of years. It is a famous point of light in the night sky. But even after Betelgeuse is no longer seen, its dramatic end will live on in the information it gives us and the deep questions it makes us think about the birth and death of stars, the history of the universe, and our place in it. We are reminded that the world is not still as we watch and wait for Betelgeuse's big ending. The place is always growing and changing, and there are many natural events that make us think and make us curious. Betelgeuse's death, like all supernovae, will make us think about how big the universe is, how short the lives of even the most powerful stars are, and the amazing forces that are at work in the universe. It will be a show like no other, and it will make us feel awe and wonder as we think about the mysteries of the world.